when we spend our whole lives growing up in a society where we are being pummeled with anti-abortion and abortion negative sentiment, it mixes up in our heads so much that we don't really know what is or isn't values aligned anymore, right? We don't know what we truly believe in our heart and in our soul versus what we just think is true because it's been told to us as the truth.
Welcome to the Multiple Truths podcast. We're your hosts, Holly
and Brittany. This is a space where we can come together healing in community, where we share our self-love journeys, insights, and wisdom.
A space with no hierarchy or judgment, fostering love, compassion, and respect, and where we honor our differences. With open minds and hearts, everyone's truth is welcome here. We are in this together. Let's dive into the episode.
Hello and welcome back. You're here with Holly. I hope you are doing well and I hope you are having a beautiful holiday season and finding those pockets of time to really take care of yourself and fill your cup up, because I know this is a really busy time of year, which is beautiful with all the gatherings, but it can be really overwhelming. So I hope that you are really just finding those pockets of time to take care of yourself and ground your energy. And I know some of you guys know that I've been really called to advocate for women's healthcare in a way that I didn't know that I would be called to, but I'm really trusting and answering that call. And I know sometimes it can be really hard to listen to these episodes because, you know, we want it to be fun, we want it to be light, and trust me, I get it. I genuinely do. But I also think it's so important to face the reality of what is going on in our world right now. And especially if you are a woman, it is so incredibly important for you to be aware of what is going on. And it's so important for you to listen to this episode because most of us don't fully understand the implications of what is happening with the abortion laws in the US right now. Like, a lot of people genuinely don't know. And I get it. Like, I wouldn't either if I didn't feel called to follow it so closely. And many of the laws that are being proposed are getting little to no national coverage, even though they would dramatically reshape women's healthcare and bodily autonomy, which just shows me how women are, again, so low on the totem pole when it comes to fighting for our rights and our issues. And the laws that are going into place and that are being proposed aren't only restricting abortion. We are seeing real cases in the US of women being arrested and investigated after experiencing a miscarriage. And some have been charged with things like abuse of a corpse or failing to report a death, even when the pregnancy ended naturally. And one of the most widely covered examples happened in Ohio, which is actually where I grew up, where a woman named Brittany Watts was charged after miscarrying at home. During a welfare check, authorities discovered her pregnancy tissue unflushed in her toilet, and prosecutors tried to charge her with abuse of a corpse. But the charge was widely criticized and ultimately dismissed by a judge, which I'm so incredibly grateful because, like, what are we even talking about? But the fact that this case even made it to court at all is the bigger concern. And I want to make it so incredibly clear that there are no laws in place that tell women how they are supposed to dispose of pregnancy tissue after a miscarriage. There is no guidance, there is no protocol, nothing. And if you are a woman, you know how common miscarriages are and how painful that experience is and the deep grief that comes along with that if you are hoping to be pregnant. Now imagine going through a miscarriage and then facing legal consequences. Like, that is absolutely disgusting to me. And as women, we need to be paying attention because what is happening is so incredibly dangerous and it affects us all. And it's not just about abortion. Certain lawmakers and proposed bills are going after contraception like birth control, IUDs, IVF, and are now criminalizing women who miscarry. So I felt really called to reach out to this woman, Sophie Nir, to be on the episode today to help educate us on what is happening and the way we can kind of like have conversations around abortion and women's healthcare. So today I'm joined with Sophie Nir, the co-founder and CEO of the Abortion Positivity Project. Sophie is the former executive director of Eleanor's Legacy, the former finance director for New York State Attorney General Lolita James, the founder of the Vaccine Vigilantes, and a veteran of numerous campaigns campaigns for prominent women elected officials. She was named a 2022 City and State 40 Under 40 Rising Star and the 2022 NYS Young Democrats Leader of the Year. Sophie is deeply committed to expanding access to reproductive health care and proudly advocates for abortion rights. And I'm just so grateful for the work that Sophie is doing. And yeah, our deep intention for this episode is to just help educate and to offer tools for navigating respectful conversations with people and give a clear understanding of the laws that are currently going into place and being proposed and what this truly means for women's healthcare and bodily autonomy. So I hope you give a listen. I know this is a bit of a heavier topic, but I'm really trusting that the right people will feel called to stay and really learn and listen and educate so we can really advocate for change. With that, let's dive into it. Hello, Sophie. I'm so excited to chat with you today. How are you?
I'm so well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited. Like I mentioned to you prior, but I heard you on the Guys We Effed podcast with Corinne and
Mhm.
Christina Hutchinson, and I love them both so much. That's the one podcast I've been consistently listening to for the past like 8 years. And
Mhm.
so when I heard your conversation, I was like, oh, I would love to have you on. So yeah, I'm excited to get a chance to chat with you.
Good. I'm so glad. It was so fun to talk to them, and I'm really glad it brought us together.
Yeah, and they're just like I loved like we were kind of talking about too, like the humor. Like I love that, they're comedians, so they bring like that humor to it because this is a very serious topic, so like
Sure.
bringing in some humor and they just yeah, I just love their perspective and I loved everything that you shared. So I'm hoping to get like glimpses of that in this episode too. Um but yeah, I would love to just start by you sharing like a bit about yourself and what inspired you to start the Abortion Positivity Project and like what the Abortion Positivity Project is. Just anything you feel comfortable sharing to start out with.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Sophie Nir. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Abortion Positivity Project. We are a nonprofit organization that works to destigmatize abortion and shift the national abortion narrative away from one controlled by anti abortion extremists. And my background is really in the political space. I've worked my whole career trying to elect women. And I think what really called me to start this organization with my co founders was that even within the space that we were working in, which is, as I said, like this explicitly and professionally feminist space, we were seeing and witnessing so much abortion stigma and really watching abortion stigma corrode the movement that was specifically supposed to be advancing abortion access and expanding abortion rights. So we saw something isn't right here, something needs to be done to shift the way that we as a culture are talking about abortion and advocating for abortion. Because what we noticed was that even the people that were supposed to be our greatest champions were speaking about abortion in a way that really undermined rather than progressed the goals
Mhm.
that we all shared.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So what exactly does your organization do? So it's mainly like advocacy, trying to educate and
Mhm.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So we do three things primarily. The first one is that we train advocates in how to talk about abortion, think about abortion, and advocate for abortion in a way that, as I said before, furthers rather than undermines our own goals of having abortion be safe, legal, affordable, accessible, and stigma free.
Hmm.
That's the first thing. The second thing is we do a lot of stuff like this. We really see talking about abortion in an active and intentional destigmatizing way in the media as a really central part of our programming. Also, like I love coming on podcasts because I get to talk to your audience who trust you about a topic that's important to both of us, and hopefully teach some folks something new today. So we do a whole bunch of media, podcasts, social media, traditional media, merch collabs, brand partnerships, all sorts of things like that, really with the interest of getting um, destigmatized abortion conversation into as many ears and eyes and brains as we possibly can. And then the third piece of our work, because I said I have a political background, we do some abortion positive legislative advocacy, meaning we work specifically in the states where abortion is legal to try and make it as available and as accessible as possible without barriers. So we partner with legislatures in access states to try and make abortion, um, to try to make their states as strong as they can possibly be for the patients who need to seek abortion care, many of whom need to travel to do so.
Mhm. Yeah. Ah, just thank you so much for all the work that you're doing because it is so deeply needed. Like the stigma is so real. And yeah, I think the
Thank you.
more
That's
that
very
we
kind.
talk about it and we normalize these conversations and normalize women's experiences and
Mhm.
help advocate for the proper health care, like it's going to help other women that have been carrying the secret of their abortion feel safe to either tell someone or feel like, oh, maybe what I did wasn't terrible. Like maybe, I
Mhm.
just think like there's so much that women suppress that have had abortions and they keep it a secret for years and years and years, and it weaves into every part of their life. And I just think having these conversations is so needed. So I'm so grateful for the work that you guys are doing.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So
That's so
thank you.
kind. I mean, as you said, like, shame really is taught. And
Hmm.
our culture and our society is very steeped in this stigmatizing abortion language to the point where even supporters of abortion are using this exact kind of stigmatizing language and teaching women and people that either explicitly or implicitly, they should feel shame and they should be ashamed of their abortion experiences. And
Hmm.
if anyone is listening who's had an abortion and feels that shame, I'm so, so sorry that that was taught to you. And I highly urge you to really evaluate if that shame is in line with your true values or if it's something that you picked up along the way from a society that is not values aligned with you and you can shed that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I talked about when I shared my story, it's like I am so at peace with my decision. Like I knew I did it what I needed to do for me at that point in my life. And I'm so grateful I had access and support around me. And the only shame I feel has been projected onto me of like,
Yeah.
oh, you should feel bad. Why? Like you
Mhm.
should feel bad. And it's like, it's just so crazy because even women that do feel strong in their decision, like there still is that shame that's just projected. And it's like, where is that coming from? And it's coming from our society and just how we view it. And yeah, I had another conversation with this woman about like how can we help women like alleviate this shame and like understand the shame. And one, it's realizing most of the time that shame isn't even yours to carry in the first place. And then
Absolutely.
also like having conversations because shame dies when it's told in safe spaces. So creating safe spaces for women to feel seen, to feel heard, to share their stories, to understand that they're not alone and that they're not a terrible person and what they did was what they needed to do for them, and like kind of like empowering them in that sort of way.
Mhm.
So yeah, I just think, yeah, these conversations are how it starts to shift.
Yeah.
Hello, my loves. Before we dive into the rest of the episode, I have a quick message I want to share with you. As we head into the new year, I know there's so much pressure to set those weight loss goals or to jump into a new diet or try a new fat loss supplement. And I truly understand wanting to feel good in your body. Trust me, I struggled with my body image for years, constantly trying to shrink my body. But I'm asking you, please do not waste your time or money on another diet or weight loss supplement that is only going to keep you stuck in the same toxic cycles and disconnected from yourself. Because all of the diets, supplements, promise quick fixes that are marketed at literally every corner that you look are missing the most crucial piece of actually creating long lasting change with food and your body, which is truly understanding the root of how your relationship with food, your body, and yourself came to be. Without getting to the root and understanding it, nothing will ever stick. You'll keep falling into the same patterns with food. And not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're not addressing the root issue, the root cause. Because I'm sure that no one ever taught you why you turn to certain foods when you're feeling uncomfortable and needing comfort. That there is actually an emotion that is present that is needing to come forward and be felt, but you are suppressing with food because that is how your body and mind have found to protect you from feeling pain again. And I'm sure no one taught you the wisdom behind your cravings and what they are trying to communicate with you. And you take your power back by truly learning how to feel your emotions instead of feeding the emotions, and learning how to have more compassion and love and understanding for yourself. So, if you struggle with restricting, binging, emotional eating, body dysmorphia, or just simply want to feel more confident and safe in your body again, I created the Journey Back Home to Self program specifically for you. It's the program that I wish that I had during my darkest years of struggling. And I've poured everything that I've learned from my own healing journey and the information learned through my training at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, where I became a certified holistic health coach. It's a 3-month self-paced online program created with such deep intention to guide you on your healing journey, to help you understand yourself, your patterns, your needs, your insecurities, and the younger parts within you that are so desperately calling out for your attention, that need you to remind them that they are enough and that their worth has nothing to do with what they look like. Inside the program, you will get weekly videos from me. We create realistic routines specifically for you to help you break those toxic cycles. And I teach you tools to really help you rebuild that trust within yourself and come more home to your body, to your mind, to your heart, to your spirit. And this isn't a quick fix, it's real healing, it's long lasting change. So, if you are ready to finally get to the root and truly heal and transform your relationship with yourself, your body, and food, this program is specifically for you. The cycle gets to end with you. And through January, I'm offering it at a discounted rate of only $222 to support you in getting started, because I want it to get into the hands of as many people as it possibly can. So, if you feel called, I really hope you answer that call, and you can click the link in the show notes to learn more. So, yeah, I just feel like my deep intention with this episode is to kind of help educate and navigate respectful conversations with people that have opposing views about abortion in a really grounded way. Because I think this topic is just so sensitive and people get so heated and are not listening to
Yeah.
understand, but trying to really have like a grounded conversation with that education in place.
Yeah.
And then also to just really understand like the current laws that are going into place around abortion
Mhm.
and what that truly means for women's healthcare, because I don't think we realize what this means for women's healthcare,
Yeah.
and really needing to highlight the dangers that are involved with the legislation and the laws that are going into place and being passed. So I
Yeah.
feel like the first place I want to start is just kind of like going through the main arguments with you
Mhm.
and seeing how you would respond to someone that's
Okay.
really open to listening and having a conversation,
Yeah.
just to really support people that are navigating these conversations. I honestly feel like this will be helpful for me as well, because I have my
Okay.
own opinions. I have my grounded perspective, but also my spiritual perspective.
Mhm.
So I feel like wanting to, yeah, get your response on this. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Before we do, can I just
Yes,
respond to what we're
absolutely.
thinking?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so when we're talking about like conversations around abortion, I think that a lot of people think exactly like you said. Like there is like a abortion supportive side and then there is an abortion opposing side. And I really don't see the conversation that way, because
Hmm.
I think that there is a huge group of people in the middle that
Hmm.
are sort of abortion unexamined. So if someone is genuinely oppositional to abortion, I don't know that there's value in having a conversation with them at all.
Hmm.
But I think, we know statistically, the data shows abortion is overwhelmingly popular in the United States among really everyone, among women, among men, among registered Democrats, among registered Republicans, among religious people, among non religious people, really across the spectrum. Abortion is overwhelmingly popular. And yet, the abortion dialogue is so dominated by this anti-abortion and abortion negative sentiment. So where that's coming from, I believe, is really from a very, first of all, this anti-abortion, the minority of anti-abortion extremists have really managed to control the narrative and control the way everyone speaks about abortion, even people that are not in any way values aligned with them.
Mhm.
And beyond that, uh, when we spend our whole lives growing up in a society where we are being pummeled with anti abortion and abortion negative sentiment, it mixes up in our head so much that we don't really know what is or isn't values aligned anymore, right? We don't know what we truly believe in our heart and in our soul versus what we just think is true because it's been told to us as the truth. And
Mhm.
so when I say that, like, there is like the biggest group of people is the people who have these unexamined abortion opinions. These are people who I think are not really taking the time to think about their own the way that they're thinking about and talking about abortion. Is it values aligned? Are the things that I'm saying about abortion uh really like furthering or undermining abortion access, and is that what I want? Like, so I think when we have these conversations, like, if someone says to me something that like is so extremist anti-abortion, I say, okay, they feel this way, right?
Right.
And if
There's no
someone
changing their
says
mind.
exactly, and if
Mhm.
someone says something to me that's sort of unexamined, uneducated, stigmatizing in a way that's clearly not actively intentional, that's such
Mhm.
a different way to approach a conversation.
Mhm.
And I always recommend for people who are going into conversations about abortion, you should always be assuming, unless you are being told otherwise, that someone is uh, sort of baseline supportive of abortion, or at
Mhm.
least baseline opposed to forced birth, which is the alternative to abortion.
Mhm. Yeah. For me personally, when I was sharing my story, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like majority of because I grew up in Ohio and grew up
Mhm.
Catholic. And so I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, majority of people do not agree with abortion. But then
Right.
as I widened my perspective and educated myself, and my husband was in politics as well, and like his education, and then listening to the Guys We Have podcast and just listening,
Hmm.
it's like, no, there's so many women that have had abortions, and like it's women's
Yeah.
health care and helping shift my perspective. So I'm really glad to hear you say that, and I had chills as you
Yeah.
said that too. Like I do
Good.
think more people than not are just like not even really like thinking about it or like
Hmm.
educated enough on it, but don't really feel like either way.
Right.
So
And
it's just
yeah, I mean, I think also like just to look at like some math, right? You
mhm,
grew up in Ohio and you
mhm,
felt when you were growing up in Ohio that like there was a wide opposition to abortion around you.
mhm,
Just a couple of years ago, Ohio passed an abortion supportive ballot measure
mhm.
overwhelmingly,
Yeah.
right? So we know mathematically, we have the proof that Ohioans do support abortion. And
Mhm.
maybe the negative energy that you're feeling is because of who is loudest, not
Mhm.
what opinion is most prevalent.
Right. Right. Because it's like the loudest people get the most airtime. Like they're the
Exactly.
loudest. So we hear
Mhm.
their voices the most, but that doesn't mean that it's the majority of people that feel that way. And I think that's really important for people to know.
Yeah.
So
And also,
yeah.
we live in a news climate where there is like a financial benefit to the news media to pretending like issues are the most contentious they could possibly be. And in
Hmm.
reality, abortion is widely supported.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like, we know that that narrative just isn't based in fact.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's kind of like feeding on like wanting us to be angry at each other and fight each other and
Hmm.
cause more division when that's just like that's not what we're being called to do. We're actually being called to come together. But when you watch the news and all of that, it's like causing more fear, more worry, more division, more anger, more
Yep.
apathy, like all of the things. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for bringing that in. Yeah. Yeah. um so I guess going into into these conversations, I guess, with people that like are genuinely curious, that like don't know which way to go, like they're literally looking for education on abortion. Yeah, I'd still love like your feedback to what
Absolutely.
you would typically say, because I think that would be
Yeah.
really important, because it's like we can really ground this conversation and help them see things in a different
Hmm.
way, or to truly understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Great. Let's do it. I
so
love this.
yeah. Okay. So how would you respond to the idea that abortion is the murder of a baby and that life begins at conception?
Yeah. So, first of all, that is a deeply fringe opinion. So, it has been repeated and repeated and repeated, but that is a opinion that is held by a small number of essentially religious extremists, that has just had a sort of outsized impact, right? That's a very fringe opinion. So, but here's what I would respond if someone who says that like really genuinely wants to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, first and foremost, it is not the responsibility of any government to force any person to be pregnant and give birth without their consent.
Mm-hmm.
Period and full stop. Pregnancy is extremely dangerous. Statistically, pregnancy is vastly more harmful to women and women's health than abortion. That's very, no one likes to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone feels like life begins at conception, then they can make any choice that they want to make for a life that they are carrying.
Mm-hmm.
And they cannot force another person to sacrifice their body, their destiny, and their life for your values.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Beautiful. Love that. Okay. And then how do you respond to the idea that the fetus or the
Hmm.
baby, quote unquote
Hmm.
baby, because a fetus and a baby are two separate things, and
Very much true.
science backs that as well.
Hmm.
I think people miss that piece too. Actually, I feel really called to really bring that in. Like science does distinguish that fact that a fetus and a baby are two separate things.
So there is a sort of, I will preface this by saying I'm very much not a doctor.
Yeah.
Um, but after there is a very significant difference after, in the 15 to 20 week range between the sort of how complicated an abortion procedure would be. So
Mhm.
you would need, if you are a doctor, significantly more medical training, significantly more experience, to be able to provide abortion care to those later in pregnancy. And it's, in between 15 and 20 weeks, when things start to get a lot more complicated. But I
Mhm.
will also add that if someone is 20, 21, 22 weeks pregnant, I still don't very firmly do not believe that there is any point in pregnancy when the government should be forcing someone to be pregnant and give birth against their will. Um,
Mhm.
I I don't have any sort of value judgments again
Mhm.
around like abortion earlier versus later in pregnancy, abortion in the instance of a medical emergency versus abortion because it's the right decision for someone to make for their life, at
Mhm.
any stage of pregnancy. I just very firmly do not believe and will state 100 times over that the government should not force anyone to be pregnant or give birth against their will, no
Mhm.
matter no matter what the circumstances are.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I am with you on that for sure.
Hmm.
I feel like I did see a statistic of like majority of abortions are done prior to 16 weeks, and if they're
Yes.
not, it's because the woman's health is in danger and the pregnancy needs
Yes.
to be terminated for the woman to
Yes.
live. There's complications going on. So
Yeah.
majority
Absolutely.
of yeah.
Yeah, 1% of abortions happen after 20 weeks of pregnancy.
Mhm.
And the vast majority of abortions happen in the first trimester. So up to 12 weeks.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay.
also, that's when generally up to 12 weeks is when you have the option to have a medication abortion uh,
Mhm.
versus a procedural abortion, or you could have, you could have the choice to have either one. After 12 weeks, it's generally speaking only procedural abortion.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So, just to continue to go down that
Yeah.
questions. So, how do you respond to the idea that the fetus
Hmm.
or the baby doesn't have a choice in the matter? Because that's something that came through a lot for me when I shared.
Hmm.
So, I'm like, yeah, I'd love your opinion on that.
That's so interesting. I don't see why that should undermine your ability to determine your own destiny. Like,
Mhm.
are you not a person? Are you not entitled to your dreams and your future and to choose your path in this life? Like,
Mhm.
I I can't imagine I can't imagine why this fetus's choice should override yours,
Mhm.
or lack of choice should override your your right to your own life.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know for me, I actually feel like that that's fetus, the soul that came through, it was
Mhm,
never meant for, because this is like the spiritual lens that I feel so deeply in my bones. Like that
mhm,
experience happened to me because it catapulted me into my healing and learning how to love
yeah,
myself. Like it wasn't the right time for me. And that soul also knew it wasn't going to be the right time. They came in to be a catapult into me changing my life and choosing myself and choosing my partner and choosing
mhm,
my healing. And I don't believe that that was ever intended to come to full term. Like I genuinely feel like that was a tower moment for me
yeah.
to choose myself in that moment. Um
I'm so glad you did. And like when
yeah.
we're talking about sort of when I saying like unexamined, right? So if we're examining a statement like that as to, what are they saying versus what are they implying? What does that really, really mean? And
Mhm.
to me, the statement that statement means that you as a like adult human woman don't matter. And that's not true. Like to
Mhm.
say that like a fetus should have more rights than a human woman is a very hateful statement. And I'm really sorry that people were saying things like that to you, because you absolutely matter. Your life matters. Your feelings matter. Your like you the path of your life matters, and it matters that you get to choose it. So
Mhm.
like I don't believe it is not in line with my values, I should say,
Mhm.
that like there is any reason why like a fetus should like trump your humanity.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry you went through that.
It's okay, thank you. I knew growing up Catholic, I knew what I was in for, what people's
Mhm.
beliefs were. That's a part of the belief because they
Yeah.
believe that life begins at conception. So you are taking that life and they don't have a choice in the matter. And that's not fair. And that's, you're taking a
But what
life, you're
about your
murdering.
life, right?
Exactly, yeah, like,
Like your
I'm a
life
full-grown
is
being, like, I'm a
yeah,
full-grown being, I am
yeah,
a woman, this is a fetus, it is not a baby, so I
right.
think it's just the education piece just isn't there about how a fetus and baby are 2 separate things, and some people
Yeah,
will never open their mind to that because 'cause they'll
yeah.
just only think of it as a baby, and I
Yeah, and
can yeah,
it's based in a deep misogyny. Like
mhm,
that notion is really based in the idea that because you are a woman, you should be sacrificing yourself,
mhm,
and that you should maybe potentially be punished for having sex. That's another piece of it.
yeah,
But I think there's like a really deep misogyny based in the idea that women should be sacrificing their lives and their destinies for any reason that a
mhm,
man would never ever be asked to do.
right, yeah. Yeah, and I just think it's just very close-minded and very,
Mhm.
like it's just so based on control of what we've been taught within religion without questioning what that is.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
it's just this is what was taught, this is right in my eyes, and what you did was wrong, and I'm not willing to look at it a different way. And that's
Mhm.
where it's like meeting people with where they're at, because that's like trying to, I'm not going to change someone's mind that's not willing to listen or be open to it. I know my
Mhm.
how I feel. It's like being, making peace with allowing people to be where they are, but I know that that's a big argument in there. That's a
Yeah.
big piece of it. And again, something that I deeply disagree with, where I can see that narrative. I think it's deeply harmful for women, and I don't think it's like based with education or science or research or the thought of the woman in mind at all. I think it's very close-minded. So
Yes.
exactly what you said. Yeah. um Okay, so then I feel like too, some people argue that if you choose to have sex, that you
Mhm.
should be responsible for the consequences, and therefore like abortion is unacceptable. Yeah, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, women should not be punished for having sex. Uh, Consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy.
Mhm.
And like, I think there's a deep, deep misogyny in that sentiment. No one is suggesting that men should be punished for having sex, or
Right.
that men are being irresponsible, or whatever other sort of derogatory and hateful accusations are being made against women. Also, many, many women who get pregnant are not consenting to sex, but they are raped. So,
Right. Mhm.
I live in New York. The youngest person who had an abortion last year in New York was 10 years old.
Oh
Um,
my gosh. Ugh.
I so there are so many circumstances where people are not consenting to sex and becoming pregnant. But even beyond that, like, consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy. Those things are absolutely and entirely different. Birth control uh, malfunctions all the time, and it's very, very frequently. And there's just so many reasons. And also, again, like, if someone becomes pregnant because they had consensual sex, the government still should not be forcing them to be pregnant and give birth against their will. It's
Mhm.
just these are arguments, really, and I think this is an important to keep in mind, that are only created by people who view, what first and foremost, like, women as disposable, and second, like, abortion situations as hypothetical.
Mhm.
Right? These are arguments that you wouldn't say if you were actually facing, like, a real moment, a real situation where your life and your destiny were in jeopardy.
Mhm.
These are complete, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
these are the basically, like, the thought experiments that men come up with that are not
Right.
really based in reality.
Mhm.
And we as women have to understand conversations around abortion in the context of reality, because we
Mhm.
know that we actually uh, have needed and could again need care.
Yeah. And I feel like too, it's like you just have no idea how you would react until it happens to you. So yeah, they're thinking
Yeah.
of all these narratives. And yeah, and I feel like one of the women that I had on the podcast that shared her story too, like her and her husband had a vasectomy and they
Hmm.
still got pregnant. And it's like you can be taking all of the actions not to get pregnant and still get pregnant. And that needs to be an option for people, because giving birth and having a child isn't just some easy thing that we do. It's life altering, it's life changing.
Completely. Yeah.
And
And I
also,
think it's worth
yeah,
saying to that is that it's most life altering and life changing for women, which we
yes,
know, right? Even
absolutely.
like, even couples who are, like, in, partnerships who have a kid together, we know statistically that having a baby much, much, much more significantly impacts the woman in like a heterosexual couple than
Mhm.
the man. And
Absolutely.
so that's something that, like, I think women inherently just understand more inherently,
Mhm.
that, like, this is a huge, huge, huge life altering, life changing thing. It's not just like some sort of hypothetical blip.
Absolutely. Yeah, and something I always say too is like if men were the ones that were getting pregnant, like this wouldn't even be a conversation. Like Roe
No,
v.
of
Wade
course
would have
not.
never been overturned. Like it's
Right.
I also believe it's a way to control women. Like I think it's deeply rooted in the
Absolutely.
patriarchy as well. And it's just like that's where it pains me so much to see women really not understanding that, but it's like everyone is on their own journey getting to where they need to get to at their own time. But it's like I just feel like it's so deeply rooted in the patriarchy and just
100%.
wanting to control women, and they're all coming not wanting women in the workplace and not wanting women to have their voices, and you stay at home with these
Yeah.
babies and take care of your men and stay out of
Yeah.
your power and stay in the kitchen. And it's just like I'm just like I've just now been able to see it so clearly, you know?
Absolutely, and it's like the timing isn't a coincidence, right?
Mhm.
Like, everything you're saying, it's like women in society and like, have never been as, like, free and thriving and financially independent and personally independent, like, ever, right? Like,
Mhm.
think about, like, many of us are the first woman in our entire lineage to ever have the opportunity to like live alone, build a life outside of like the confines of like like a heterosexual relationship. Like
Mhm.
these freedoms, like it wasn't until the 70s that women could open a credit have their own credit card. Right.
Mhm.
So like think
Mhm.
about the educational opportunities and the professional opportunities that are brand new for women.
Mhm.
And the second that women start, excelling and exceeding in this society that was very much designed to keep us down, boom, Dobbs
Mhm.
decision. It's not a
Absolutely.
coincidence.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's intimidating to men and they don't want to acknowledge that. So let's
Yeah.
control them. Let's get them under wrap. Let's get them back under our control.
Mhm.
Because a woman in her power is like unstoppable. Like and
Right.
women altogether in our power, it causes a real threat, I feel like, to the masculine ego. And I don't think
100%.
yeah, and it's like how to like time to see that clearly, time to really
Yeah.
see that clearly. Everything that you said, like absolutely. Like I
And
for
there's a
what it's
lifestyle element for men too around like, we grew up in a way that was like we were constantly telling girls, myself like me, that like
Mhm,
your life doesn't have to look like your mother's life. But
mhm,
we were not telling boys that means that your life won't look like your father's life.
mhm,
And, they grew up expecting that they would have a life that looked like their father and they would have like a wife who did the vast majority of domestic labor and child rearing. And uh, when that didn't come to fruition, I think that caused or at least contributed to this huge cultural pushback.
mhm. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and I just think like the patriarchy is just so deeply rooted. Like we don't
Mhm.
even I think even men with good hearts, good intentions, my husband being one of them, like he supports me in doing my own business and having my own thing and like but I just even men with good hearts like there's still like that misogyny. It's like in the DNA.
Yeah,
It's so deeply rooted. And
yeah,
I think that's where we need to really start like understanding and having and men being able to acknowledge that and like have
oh yeah,
conversations. I know there are men that do, but some men are very much like still blinded, like don't see it, won't acknowledge it. And that's a part of the problem. Like that's a
hmm,
part of the problem. And I just think in order for things to genuinely change, we do need also like men, healthy, masculine men, like seeing what is, and I think a lot do. I think a lot of men do see what's happening with all of this, but I don't know. It's like we've got to work together and like see how deeply rooted this is in wanting to control women again.
oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's just crazy. Um okay, so going back to was there anything that I missed with the conversations? I think like the arguments. I think the one other one that's coming to mind is like um you choosing adoption instead of
Mm,
like
mhm.
why didn't you go through the pregnancy and like give it up for adoption? There's so many women here that like want to have children that can't. Like how
Yeah,
dare you,
yeah,
not how dare you, like if this is someone that's grounded, why didn't you choose the adoption route rather
yeah.
than having an abortion?
Thank you so much for asking. So adoption is not an alternative to abortion. Adoption is an alternative to parenting. The
Mhm.
alternative to abortion is forced birth.
Mhm.
So, like, the answer to that is because the right decision for you, your life, your destiny, was not to undergo a pregnancy, which is life altering in many, many, many ways, right? Many, many, many ways.
Mhm.
Um, so that's what I would say, right? This idea that adoption is an alternative to abortion is just not true.
Mhm.
Adoption is an alternative to parenting. The alternative to abortion is forced pregnancy and forced birth.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I just think some women choose to go down that route, some don't.
Hmm.
That's their own decision. It's up to the woman at the end of the day what she decides to do with herself, her body, you
Right.
know. So
Right. But
it's not not for
like
everyone.
the idea that having a pregnancy is like whatever, it's
Mhm.
so false. Like
Right.
every statistic proves that going through a pregnancy, whether or not you parent the baby or uh, the baby goes into the adoption pool, going through a 9-month pregnancy vastly changes your life, your earning potential, your future prospects, your ability to control and design your own life, not to mention like the health impacts of pregnancy. And
Mhm.
pregnancy, as I said before, extremely high risk, extremely dangerous, has deep impacts on a woman's health forever.
Mhm.
Um, so, like, the idea that someone should just go through that against their will or should be forced to go through that against their will is something that really can only be thought of if you are viewing the entire situation as a hypothetical and not as like an actual person's life
Mhm.
that is being like that you are forcing to sort of sacrifice their life and their mental health and their physical health and their path in
Mhm.
and their
Yeah.
pursuit of happiness, which is in our constitution an unalienable right, and their liberty, right? You are not free if you are being forced against your will to be pregnant and give birth, and we are
Right.
supposed to live in a society of freedom.
Yeah, you're like taking away the woman's bodily autonomy to decide what she wants
Precisely.
to, like you're literally taking that away from her. Like you don't get to decide, we decide for you. How
Right.
forceful, how disgusting. Like
Right.
how disgusting, and it's massive. It's massive to have a child, to even go through the whole pregnancy. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's just massive. It's massive. So I think like yeah, and unless you've been pregnant or like it's like I just don't think people can conceptualize how massive it is. Like again, like a hypothetical of like, oh, you get
Yeah.
pregnant. Every people do it all the time. It's like no, this is life altering, and like a woman should
Absolutely.
always be able to decide what she wants to do with her body.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. No one else can have an opinion on that. Like
Yeah.
or should be able to.
So we are going to take a quick break so that I can tell you guys about my 21-week mentorship. Woo! I'm super excited to announce that my mentorship is officially open for registration. The mentorship starts January 14th and runs through until June 10th. There will be 20 group calls, and it also gives you full access to my 20-week program. The program is going to be the core of the mentorship. We are going to go through that as a group. I am keeping the group small. I am only taking 2 groups and capping it at 12. So as soon as we hit 12, we are not taking any more people. And it is essentially for those of you who are ready to take it to the next level, who are in the in between. You know that you're not going back to where you were, but you're not quite sure exactly where you're going. It's a program designed to help you sharpen the tools that you already have so that you can take aligned action to get you to wherever your soul is guiding you. It's all about reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting to your inner voice, strengthening the trust within yourself so that you can trust yourself enough to take action, to take aligned action. It's in a container where there will be community. And yeah, I'm super excited to announce it. So it's officially open. For more information, you can check out the link in the show notes, or if you head over to my social medias, you can find it all linked there as well. And for those of you who are seriously considering the mentorship, I am opening up 15 to 20-minute free consultation calls so that you can get a better idea on whether or not this program feels aligned for you. So if you are seriously considering the mentorship, you have read through the description and everything, and you are interested in a call, shoot me a message through my website and just let me know you are interested in a consultation call. I will then send you a link to book. And yeah, I'm super excited. It really is saying yes to transformation. It is saying yes to transformation. It is going to require time and energy to oneself. It's going to require you to really devote time to yourself. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, short and sweet, and let's get back to the episode.
Okay, so I want to talk about too, like with Roe v. Wade was overturned in
Yeah,
2022. Now,
unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. And now each state decides their own abortion laws. And then there's a constant push to defund Planned Parenthood. And it just
Mhm,
really feels like education is really needed around
mhm,
what this means for women's healthcare.
mhm.
So, can you just maybe explain a little bit of like what this means for women's healthcare today? Like how this is going to negatively impact women?
Yes. So, absolutely. First, it's, these laws have been in effect now for about 3 years. Texas was the very first state. They implemented a 6 week abortion ban about 6 months before the Dobbs decision. So we have plenty of data on how horrendously negatively these abortion bans are impacting women nationwide. So the first thing I'll say, because I know there's so much misinformation, um,
Mhm.
just a little bit of abortion history. I'll keep it quick. But abortion has actually never been nationally banned in the United States ever. So what Roe v. Wade did was it made abortion in all 50 states mandated legal. It did not overturn a national abortion ban that existed previously because there was never a national abortion ban that existed previously.
Okay.
Um, so I think that's a really important distinction. I think that's like
Mhm.
a huge misconception
Mhm.
around like the sort of history of American abortion,
Mhm.
because there's never been a national abortion ban in the United States history. Um, so what the Dobbs decision did was it quote unquote left it up to the states for uh, states to ban, criminalize, protect, expand abortion, um, as they wanted.
Mhm.
So what we have seen is a huge, huge, huge rise in infant mortality, a multiple women dying whose names we know, who died because they were not able to access abortion care. Some of whom died in a hospital where they were
Mhm.
being surrounded by medical professionals who could treat them, but were prevented from treating them by the punitive and evil laws of their state. We've seen many ballot measures that uh, in which the voters of a state voted to uh, protect abortion or legalize abortion. And then we've seen situations where that happened, and then the government of the state said, we don't care, and completely ignored it, particularly in Missouri, which is a true tragedy for democracy. So,
Mhm.
these abortion bans have had an absolutely horrendous impact on women and women's health. What they have not done at all is change the number of abortions happening in the United States.
Mhm. Mhm.
The number of abortions in the United States actually went up in the last 2 years
Interesting.
because people are still able to access care. They're
Mhm.
able to access care through extremely expensive, inconvenient, often humiliating, and uh, degrading and outrageously, harmful means, but they are able to access care. With that
Mhm.
said, there are still so many people in emergency situations that are being put in harm's way, and that's why we are seeing, so much death and so much pain.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't that's so interesting to know that it's gone up because yeah, there's still I mean, people just have to travel, but think about
Right.
the women that, like, can't travel and a lot of people that are in poverty. I mean, I just can't
Yeah.
even and
So
even
there's
just
two
yeah.
ways.
Mhm.
Some people travel, and then some people have abortion medication delivered to them.
Oh,
In
okay.
So you can actually access a medication abortion in all 50 states,
Hmm, interesting. Okay.
because there are systems and there are structures to get medication abortion to the people who need them, regardless of the laws in that state.
Okay.
So actually, more than half, almost 60%, I believe, of abortions are done with abortion medication. There are two medications, mifepristone and misoprostol. You use both in the course of treatment. Um, and people are able to still access abortion care that way, if they are not able to travel, or if that's just a better option for them than traveling. But it is important to note that, like, the barriers that are being created for them are still absolutely harmful, and particularly they are really targeting the people who are, you know carrying a wanted pregnancy more than someone who finds out early that they are pregnant, knows immediately that they don't want to be, is able to access medication, uh, and then terminates and has their abortion, swiftly.
Mhm.
That is, I think, so much safer than if
Mhm.
you are living in a state with an abortion ban and you are carrying a wanted pregnancy and you have a complication.
Right. Like, that's the piece that I feel like people aren't understanding too.
Hmm.
It's like people women that want so desperately to have these babies, but complications come into place and the pregnancy has to be terminated for the woman's life,
Yeah,
that will not be an option in these states.
yeah,
Like,
it
the
isn't.
doctor's hands are
Yeah,
going to be tied. They can't. They
right.
quite
It has
literally, like
been.
yeah.
Yeah, that has been the case for the last 3 years. And
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, again, my non-medical opinion, but if I had a friend who was in a situation where they were carrying a wanted pregnancy and in a state with an abortion ban, I would be more scared for them than
Mhm.
if I had a friend who had an early pregnancy that they knew they wanted to have an abortion. That I
Right.
would say, okay, no problem. Like, that is a situation that I very easily know how to handle. And if
Mhm.
you are, deep into a pregnancy and you have a complication, sometimes very, very serious complications. As I said, pregnancy is very, very dangerous. And
Mhm.
there are many serious complications that do arise. And then you're really stuck because, what are you going to do? Like,
Right. Right.
I
And
think that's
that's
a much more dangerous. I would be much more scared if I had, like, a loved one in that situation.
absolutely. Absolutely. I would be too. And I just, yeah, it's like realizing that abortion isn't only just for women who, like genuinely are not ready to have children. Like, it is for women that are pregnant and all the complications that come along with it. And I
Hmm.
don't like it's women's health care. And that it's like that is what is being stripped away. And women have and will continue to die because
Yeah.
of these laws that are going into place.
Mhm.
And is it true that like if doctors do intervene, they could be charged with murder of the
Oh, yeah.
baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is absolutely the case. So like, there are states, I think in Texas, you can get like 99 years in prison for performing an abortion. So there is currently a provider incarcerated in Texas for allegedly providing abortion care, or so they claim. And that's the first case that's of someone being actually arrested. But there are also two other criminal situations, like criminal warrant situations, that are being protected currently by shield laws. Texas and Louisiana have, like, warrants and criminal charges against a abortion provider in New York and an abortion provider in California, who they claim uh, shipped medication abortion to patients in Louisiana and Texas. And they are like trying to arrest those people, but because they live in states that are protecting them, they are not able to. Um, so yes, absolutely, they are there are steep penalties for, in these states, both for providers, for patients. We also, it's also really important to note, the other thing that we've seen since the Dobbs decision is a very, very significant rise in women being arrested for how they handled their own miscarriage.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that because I know that that is coming up too around women that
Hmm.
have miscarriages. Yeah, are they being charged for murder, or what are the penalties that they're
Yeah,
getting into place? Because that is something that the woman has absolutely no control over. And the fact that,
correct.
like, that just is absolutely mind blowing to me because miscarriages are so common, like,
Yes.
so common. So, yeah, I wanted to touch on that too.
Yeah, so generally, and this is really horrendous, but generally in these cases, the woman is being charged with abuse of a corpse for how they, disposed, quote unquote, disposed of the quote unquote fetal remains. I will also add that there is not a single law in any state in the country on how you are supposed to dispose of miscarriage materials. So it's really just that they have decided to, you know, really punitively go after women for essentially just for dealing with a medical crisis. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's what's going on, and
That's so
it's
crazy.
usually. And also, like, I know that, like, a question that some people are going to have at home is, like, how do they find out? Like, how is law enforcement discovering these situations?
Hmm.
And usually it's because your boyfriend or or a someone who works at the hospital that you went to seek care turns you in.
Wow.
It's really horrible.
Hmm. I mean,
There was a
even,
situation,
yeah.
I don't remember what state it was in, but there was a woman who had a miscarriage. She flushed it because she didn't know what else to do.
Hmm.
It clogged her toilet. She told this to the nurse at the hospital, and the nurse reported it to law enforcement. The police went to her house, like, like, found, like, miscarriage material in her toilet and arrested her.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And we
Horrible.
like so terrible. And also, miscarriages are already, especially if you're trying to get pregnant and you have a miscarriage, like that is already
Mhm.
so devastating to the
Mhm.
woman who's
Yeah.
wanting to get pregnant. Like that's devastating. And then to have that on top of it after she's had absolutely no control, and like again, there's no education on what to do with the remains of the fetus once you have the miscarriage. Like how dark. That's just so dark. That's so disgusting to
It's
me.
really dystopian. It's
Yeah.
horrendous.
And wow. Wow. I'm just like I cannot even believe that. My
Yeah.
mind.
And again, like, when asked, like, well, what was she supposed to do? There is no answer.
Like, and how
Like,
is
there
that
is no
okay?
law as to what she was supposed to do.
Yeah. And so what are we how is that even a case then?
Yeah.
Where's the evidence of you should do this? This is the law. So like this can you cannot be charged with this because we don't have a law in place. We didn't there's no law to tell you what to do.
Yeah. It's
It's just
completely
again
outrageous.
another way to control women because
Mhm.
miscarriages are so common. So common.
Mhm.
And it's just, wow, that is just devastating on top of already being devastated. I can't even imagine that would break a woman. I mean, putting myself in those shoes, that would break me. I would be like, are you just, what do you even do in those
Yeah.
situations?
Yeah. I mean, that is like, again, to speak of the deep misogyny, like, that is the behavior of a society that really hates women.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
want women, like women need to understand that too. Women that want to get pregnant. And if you have a miscarriage, this could be your path. Like it's
Mhm.
not just, it's like abortion and this medical care is so much deeper than what we see, like what people think on the surface. It's so
Yeah.
much deeper. It's like if you are trying to get pregnant and you have a miscarriage, this could happen to you, you know? And I'm
Mhm.
just curious too with this. So for a woman who chooses to have an abortion, are they also being charged with murder, or does that go to the doctor performing the procedure,
Yeah,
or
so
both?
usually not. Um, there have been situations like that, but usually they try to charge the provider. And then this is the other piece, is that they come up with someone that they claimed coerced them and they charge them. So, like, there was a situation in, I believe, Louisiana again, where they arrested someone's mom for, they claim, coercing her into having an abortion. Um, and so situations like that are more typical.
Mhm. Just so crazy. And then we're not even
It's
like taking
horrendous.
into account like women or children, like you mentioned the one in New York who was 10 years old. We're not even taking into account these rape cases and then getting
Hmm.
pregnant, and let alone just like incest and like the impact that that has on being raped and then having to bring a baby into full term. And like I'm so proud. I just realized, I just found out actually that Lady Gaga became public about her abortion that she had after a rape
Mm-hmm.
when she was, I think she was 19 or something like that, trying to like normalize it and talk about her experience. And I just like, I can't fathom putting someone through that who was forcefully against their will. One, the trauma of that experience, and then two,
Hmm.
the trauma of getting pregnant and knowing who got you pregnant and having to, I mean, there's just so much nuance that goes into all of this and so much to consider that people just like are not aware of, I feel.
Absolutely. And there are states where there is, they claim that they have a quote unquote exception for instances of rape or incest, and those are never implemented
Mhm.
because they, for so many reasons. First of all, they don't have medical providers in the state anymore who would be willing to take the risk to provide that care. There is, we know that, like, the vast majority of rape cases go unreported, and those that are reported go uninvestigated and unconvicted. So those exceptions that we hear about all the time, exception for rape and incest, exception for rape and incest, those are completely fake and never, almost never actually implemented.
Mhm. Yeah.
When we're talking about abortion positivity, just to like bring it back a little bit, oh,
Mhm.
so I haven't defined abortion positivity, which I probably should do because, it's in the title of our organization.
Yeah.
When we talk about abortion positivity, we say that abortion positivity is a strategic framework for understanding abortion without any stigma or judgment. And abortion
Mhm.
positivity is about centering the positive impact of abortion and appreciating abortion as a social good. So that's the
Mhm.
sort of like dictionary definition of abortion positivity. Abortion
Mhm.
positivity is not just talking about abortion positively, it's really
Right.
implementing this strategic framework. And the
Mhm.
first step of this strategic framework is like a self evaluation of, are the things that I am thinking about abortion and is the first thought that I'm having in response really in line with the values that I hold and the world that I want to contribute to creating, where abortion is safe, legal, affordable, accessible, and stigma free. That's the first step. So, like, I don't like, I think the worst thing we could do is shame ourselves for being taught shame.
Right, right,
So,
right.
rather than say, like, I'm so ashamed that I have, like, grown up in a society that has taught me to feel all of these stigmatizing and abortion negative things about abortion, it's to say, be compassionate with ourselves and say, let me just take stock of the things that I'm, the of like the things floating around in my head, And are they aligned with the things that are really in my heart and my values in the world I'm trying to create? That's really
Mhm.
step one. Then
Mhm.
we can start to talk about abortion and advocate for abortion in a way that achieves our goals. And that will shift the narrative around abortion and gain narrative control for the pro abortion majority. Because we
Mhm.
already have a majority, right? We
Mhm.
already have a country where the vast majority of people support abortion. We're just sort of bad at it as a movement. So
Mhm.
rather than continue to do our opponents' work for them and continue to talk about abortion in a way that like advances our enemy and our opponent's goal, we need to reframe, take a step back, and really strategize and employ like a more strategic um, set of strategies.
Mhm.
I just said the word strategic in six different fonts, but
I
you know what
get
I mean.
it. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so beautiful and powerful because it's like, yeah, not shaming yourself for having different it's like we've been spoon-fed so much, and I think it's just being
yeah,
compassionate and trying to like really get curious. And I think that's what I always say. I just feel like people like we live in a society we're all very disconnected from ourselves. I think we're in a mental health crisis. We're all just in a lot of us are in
oh
survival
yeah,
mode trying to survive and make it, and like learning how to really sit with and connect with yourself and question what you've been taught, question the teachings. Does that feel true for you? Like, genuinely, does that feel true for you and your heart? And I
hmm
think so many of us like want to fit in and we're looking for the answers. So, someone that we look up to thinks this way. So, we're going to follow what they say. And it's like learning to think for yourself and feel what feels true for you. And again, yeah, like having compassion for yourself, not shaming yourself, but getting curious about where your beliefs stem from. And can you
yeah,
maybe try and open your mind to think about things in a different way and listen to people's personal stories and get to know other people outside of, the places where you grew up and how they've been thinking, like
yeah,
expanding your horizon a bit. So I
yes,
love everything, yeah, that your organization's doing. I think that's so needed and so powerful. Um, yeah, and I think the last thing I'd like to maybe end on too is just like how maybe touching on like how does abortion save lives? Because I think it's like
oh yeah.
shifting also the narrative of like abortion saves lives. It genuinely does. So I'd love to hear, yeah, your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, when, as I said, in the definition of abortion positivity, we say abortion is a social good. It's not just that abortion like isn't a bad thing or isn't evil or isn't the things that anti-abortion extremists are saying, but abortion is a tremendous, tremendous tool for creating a more free, more just, more safe society, right? Abortion is the fundamental tenet of women's freedom. And abortion saves lives in so many ways. First of all, as I've said, I think 63,000 times already in
Mhm.
this episode, pregnancy is very dangerous. And
Mhm.
abortion is the treatment and the cure for a wide, wide, wide array of pregnancy complications, right? But that's just the most sort of obvious definition when we think of abortion saves lives. Abortion is like really it is a path to freedom. It is a path to the destiny that you decide for yourself. It is a path to live your truth, have feel your autonomy, and live your authentic life. And all of that, I think, is life saving.
Mhm.
And also,
Absolutely.
you know, for abortion saving lives to be a value, we have to acknowledge and appreciate that women's lives are of value, which is something that our societies far too often ignores.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, and I always say, yeah, like abortion saves women's lives. It genuinely
Absolutely.
saves women's lives. And I feel like we need to really see that this is women's healthcare at risk. Like it's women's
Yeah.
healthcare at risk. It's way more than just, women. Yeah, there is so much nuance. There's so much that goes into it. And it's so dangerous for women, the laws that are going
Mhm.
into place. And I just think the education piece around it now more than ever is really needed. And it gives me a lot of hope knowing that majority of people feel this way about abortion, but when I look on my phone and when I think it's like that feels so far from the truth. So
Yeah.
I think it's like real because the loudest voices get the most traction. So
Right.
it's just so important to know that majority of people like feel this way, which I think brings a lot of solace, brings a lot of like community, like we
Mhm.
caring about women and our health, and if making having body autonomy and not letting the government decide what we do with our bodies. And yeah i just I just feel like right now though the conversations are really needed. The conversations are needed. They're
Yeah.
necessary, and to really help us see things in a different way and to educate ourselves, and have uncomfortable conversations that need to be had, and help other women that feel such deep shame about their own experiences know that they're not alone, and that
Yeah.
they did what they needed to do for them, and we are all in this together. And
Yeah, and
yeah.
that their lives are of value, and that like
Mhm.
I am so glad you made a decision to save your life. I
Mhm.
feel grateful to you that you saved your life because your life is of value.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Is there anything that we missed that you feel is important to share with this discussion?
I think we nailed it. Just
Yeah.
remember that the opposite of the alternative to abortion is forced birth.
Mhm.
That should save you in any conversation that you feel overwhelmed in.
Mhm.
And yeah, um, if just to plug, follow us
Yeah,
on Instagram.
absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, Follow us on Instagram at abortion positivity or on TikTok at abortion positivity. If you want an abortion saves lives sweatshirt or cropped tank top, we of course sell that on our website, as well as some other really cute merch. If you want to become a monthly donor to support our work at any financial level, we would be so grateful and appreciative. And yeah, just stay abortion positive and make sure that you are acting in alignment with your goals and values. And we will then work together to create a world where abortion is safe, legal, affordable, accessible, and stigma free. And I'm so excited.
Yes, beautiful. I do have hope. I feel like we're going through some turmoil right now, but I do have
Mhm.
hope. And I'll have all of your information linked in the show notes below. So if anyone wants to look more into you, follow the account, learn more about the Abortion Positivity Project. I know you guys have a website too, so I'll put your
Yeah, we do.
website on there too, so people can look into that, and if they want to donate and all of that, that'd be beautiful. So yeah. Well,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your advocacy and for your passion and education. It's so deeply needed, and I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing for women, for our children, for our babies yet to come, and just fighting
Mhm.
for women's healthcare, women's rights. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to you and this work that you do. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for platforming us and for vouching for us. And I really appreciate this opportunity to come and talk to your amazing audience.
Yeah, thank you. Beautiful. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye. As we wrap up today's episode, we want to extend our deepest gratitude for joining us on this journey. Your support does not go unnoticed. If you enjoyed this episode and find value in our conversations, please take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also allows us to reach more people who can benefit from our community of healing and support. Every review, every rating makes a difference. Thank you for being a part of the Multiple Truths podcast family. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Multiple Truths podcast. Keep speaking your truth and spreading your light. We love you, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.